7 years on from Brazil winning the right to host this World Cup, we're now finally getting close to actually seeing some football. Well, they were booed during their final warm-up game, but can Neymar and his Brazil team step it up when it really matters? Will Croatia still be smiling after this opening game against the hosts? We'll be checking in with their former player and coach Slaven Bilic. And we speak to the man who scored the goal that silenced the legendary Maracana stadium and won the World Cup the last time the tournament was played in Brazil. Well, as has been well documented, Brazil's efforts to get ready for its hosting duties haven't always run entirely smoothly. Stadium delays, strikes and protests have stolen much of the narrative in the build-up. Well, Lee Wellings is in Rio, where he's been keeping a close eye on all the build-up. Lee, some pretty sort of interesting headlines in the build-up to this World Cup, but give me some good news. How is it looking out there?
Well, there is excitement building about the fact that Brazil are playing in the opening game, and people will always get behind the Brazilian team. They do love football here. They do want to put right what happened that they called a tragedy in 1950 when Brazil lost the world. It wasn't the final, it was the final match. They lost to Uruguay, but it meant that they weren't world champions. They'd never won the World Cup before, and they've taken many years to get over it. Perhaps some of their supporters never have and want them to win this World Cup. But there has been such huge concern about the cost for many years now, not just the last few months. They would prefer money to be spent on health and housing, and there are social issues that need to be tackled. And we've seen how they've dealt with this in the form of protests that are still ongoing. In Sao Paulo, there's been some ugly protests today. There's strikes of airline workers at airports, and some people are just not sure how they should react. On one hand, they really wanted money spent elsewhere, and there's antipathy towards FIFA for the money that they make from a tournament like this for a supposed non-profit organisation. But on the other hand, they really will want to get behind that Brazilian team, and they will be desperate for Brazil to win this World Cup.
Lee, is the big hope really for the government that once the football starts, the protests will stop? And do you think that's going to happen?
Yes, that is a hope. I mean, I don't think the protests will just completely stop. There are some already planned, and the police are actually making sure that they deal with this in quite a heavy manner. They want to quash it, they want to crush it. So I think what will happen is when the actual match kicks off, people will get caught up in the excitement of needing Brazil to win. Then, of course, you need results to go right. You know, if Brazil lose a key game, let's say Brazil, as favourites for the tournament, do make their way to the knockout stages, and then perhaps they're beaten by a big rival. If they lose at all, people expect them to win this tournament. That could be the trigger for some more unpleasant scenes as people take out their frustration. But at this stage, they won't be thinking like that. They'll be thinking, well, actually, Brazil are favourites. They can win this tournament. And as you say, the government know that when a team gets momentum and then they win, there can be a lot of glory. In fact, you know, we've seen with so many times, not just with football tournaments, with something like the Olympics. You know, the London Olympics, there was a lot of negativity. There weren't street protests, but people were concerned about the cost. When the Great Britain team started winning medals, people got behind it. It's inevitable. And that's, I think, what could happen with the Brazilians. But it won't mean there'll still be concerns about the cost of the thing, even for years to come.
Lee Wellings there in Rio for us. We're going to have plenty more from Lee in Rio over the next few days, of course. Now, the team with the hopes of a nation resting on their shoulders will be in action soon enough. Last year, Brazil won the Confederations Cup, beating world champions Spain 3-0 in that final. Expectations, well, they've been rising ever since, and they'll start this tournament against Croatia. Elise Holman reports.
Any World Cup host nation is going to have its fair share of pressure. When it's a country with a football history as rich as Brazil, that pressure intensifies even further.
The time's arrived for all Brazilians. It's what the whole world's been waiting for.
A lot of hope rests on the shoulders of star striker and former teen prodigy Neymar. But at 22, he'll be playing in his very first World Cup.
I'm anxious, but I'm extremely happy also, because many people would like to be here. I received messages from friends saying it's their dream too, but they went different paths. I hope that I can fulfill the dreams of the Brazilians by winning the World Cup.
Opponents Croatia are ranked 18th in the world, and they have their own plans for counteracting Neymar.
I will lock him in his hotel room. I respect him. He is a top player in Brazil.
We know what awaits us, but let me reiterate, Brazil is not just Neymar. There are so many good players in the Brazilian side, but I would like to say that the little Croatia also boasts excellent World Cup players. I personally think that Mr. Scolari may be losing sleep when thinking about playing Croatia.
Manager Luis Felipe Scolari has experience on the board. He led Brazil to World Cup victory in 2002.
We have 7 steps. We have to go up these 7 steps to start. We have to think of the first step. We can't jump the 7 steps.
A nation of almost 200 million anxiously awaits. Elise, Holman, Al Jazeera.
Well, it's perhaps easy to forget that there are 2 teams involved in that opening game. Croatia, of course, taking on Brazil. And joining us now from Croatia is Slaven Bilic, currently coach of Turkish team Besiktas. Of course, central to Croatia's early years as a football team, took them to the semi-finals in 1998, went on to become a hugely popular coach of his national team. Slaven, great to have you with us. Now, Croatia facing a huge task in this game, but could the fact there is so much pressure on Brazil be to Croatia's advantage, do you think?
Yeah, hello, Andy. Well, I think definitely, well, every team is going to feel the pressure in the first game. But I think that I would go so far and say that no team in modern football history has ever been under so much pressure as this current Brazilian team is. Because they have to win it, and they have to win it in style. And this is one of the aspects of the game that we Croatians are looking that maybe we get a chance to spoil them a party.
Slaven, you've spoken of the value of Luka Modric to this team. I'm looking at the Croatia team. They look to have one of the best midfields in the tournament. Would you agree with that?
I agree with that, yeah. Okay. Well, the Croatian team is not only Luka, okay. I'm not objective when I'm talking about Luka, but for me he was, and definitely this year he is among the best football midfielders in the world. I mean, he proved himself in Real Madrid. He won the Champions League. He's one of a very few midfielders, together with Pirlo and with Xavi two years ago, that he's capable of making every other player from his team 10 or 20% better. And he gives everything for the team. And for me, put it this way, if he plays a big tournament, then this team is capable of going very, very far. But as I said, the whole guys, especially from the midfield, like if you're talking about Ivan Rakitic's season in Sevilla when they won Europe League, and he just signed for Barcelona. Great player, great season, great confidence as well, especially now. And then with Jan Kovacic, and up front we have Mandzukic, who had a great season. We have Olic. We have a good team. It's not only Luka, but of course the whole nation, including myself, are expecting for Luka to take this team out and to be the leader.
Slaven, Cameroon and Mexico, the other teams in the group, regardless of what happens in this opening game, you must be pretty confident that Croatia can make it through to the knockout phase.
Well, we are confident, but the fact is, like, a lot of people are saying that we ain't got nothing to lose tonight. You have to lose tonight, you have, because this is not a championship like a Bundesliga that you have 18 teams and 34 games. If tonight, if we lose and Mexico or Cameroon win, you're going to look at the table and you're going to be like under pressure to win the next game. So if we want to go through, okay, we have 2 games to go against Mexico and against Cameroon, both very good size. But if we want to go through, then I would not say that we have to get something from tonight's game, but it could be also very decisive, not only for the confidence, but for the table as well. And to put Brazil under pressure to win those 2 remaining games for them.
Let's really hope Croatia can put on quite a show tonight, Slaven. It looks beautiful there in Split as well. Thanks so much for being with us here on Al Jazeera.
No problem, Antti. It's a pleasure.
Well, let's go through Group A now. Mexico and Cameroon, as we mentioned, they play on Friday. Remember, it's 3 points for a win, and the top 2 teams in each group will qualify for the last 16. Now, some football politics ongoing in Brazil as well as ever. The top man in the European game, Michel Platini, has said he can no longer support FIFA President Sepp Blatter. It follows Blatter all but confirming he will run for re-election and stand for a 5th term. Blatter announcing he was ready to build a new FIFA during this meeting in Brazil. Elections are set to be held next year. Well, Lee is with us in Rio, and he, of course, has been keeping a close eye on all the goings-on at FIFA. Lee, some pretty strong words from Platini, saying that FIFA needs a breath of fresh air. What do you make of that?
Well, they are strong words. They're not surprising words, but they're clever words in a way, because what Platini has tried to do is not make this look personal. He actually used another phrase, I like him, but he just doesn't want another term for Blatter as president, which is absolutely fair enough, because when you think about it, Sepp Blatter, it's a surprise to many people that he's going for a 5th term as president. There was always a reported agreement that actually Platini might be the man to move through and take over from Blatter. And what we do know is that they have fallen out and that there is real poison between UEFA and Sepp Blatter. That said, I mean, what you've got to understand about this situation is that Sepp Blatter is likely, he'd be a huge favourite to actually become president for a 5th term. Will Platini stand against him is the question now.
We shall find out soon enough, Lee. Thanks again. Well, the last time Brazil hosted the Football World Cup was in 1950. The final game saw the home side needing just a draw against South American neighbour Uruguay to win the title. But as any Brazil fan will tell you, the game didn't quite go as expected. Lucia Newman reports.
The last time Brazil hosted a World Cup at Rio's Maracana Stadium, the outcome shocked the world and crushed Brazil, the hot favourite to win. That winning goal for Uruguay in 1950, nicknamed the Maracanazo, has gone down in history, and so too the player who scored it.
It was a bitter moment for Brazil. They say many people committed suicide. The Pope, Frank Sinatra, and me, the only 3 people that have ever silenced the Maracana.
Today, Alcides Hija is 88, the last surviving member of the teams who took part in that historic cup final. At the time, there were practically no Uruguayans to celebrate among the 200,000 spectators at the Maracana, the biggest crowd in football history. Now, 64 years later, Hija is loved even by Brazilians. They all want to have their picture taken with him at Uruguay's Football Museum.
Pelé told me he was a child the day he saw his father cry when I scored that goal in the Maracana. He says he told him, "Don't worry, Dad, when I grow up, I'll make Brazil the world champion." And he did.
As for Hija, he says the only thing missing in his life is to witness Uruguay win again. But this time from the stands, so he can celebrate with the fans. Lucia Newman, Al Jazeera, Rio de Janeiro.
What a fantastic story that is. And we've got a special Brazil 2014 section at our website. You can check that out, of course, aljazeera.com, and click on one of the Brazil 2014 banners. There's a live blog there, up and running. Hope that you can contribute to that as well. It also includes the latest reaction from players, coaches and fans.